if you've been watching the royal weather vane, you'll know the breeze has shifted. For months, the drumbeat was simple. Harry's court battle over UK security failed. He declared he couldn't imagine bringing his family back. Full stop. And then, without fanfare, Meghan surfaces in Paris escorted by confidant Marcus Anderson, giggling cheek kisses with fashion royalty, basking in the most photographed rooms on earth. To some, it looked like a glamorous one-off. To others, it read like the first cool exhale of a coordinated warm-up. The label circulating among well-placed whisperers is as on the nose as it gets: Project Thor. Here's the idea, as described by friends and palace watchers alike: a phased, image-led softening of the Sussex's edges in Britain and Europe, designed to sidestep the security stalemate, dial down the frost, and make public life, selectively feel not only possible again, but palatable. If true, this is not a comeback tour with blaring trumpets, it's a velvet-footed return routed through culture, charity, glamour, and carefully calibrated symbolism. It leans on the oldest PR adage there is: pictures write their own copy. Think lipstick red carpets and Vogue-adjacent front rows, followed by charity rooms where cameras love to linger and headlines use that agreeable word, reunion. What makes this moment different isn't just Meghan's Paris pivot, it's the scaffolding around it. Harry has already sketched a faint bridge with the king. Tea at Clarence House after months of distance, deeply formal perhaps, but real. He then pinged to Kiev, where his arrival happened to overlap with Britain's new foreign secretary. Whether coincidence or choreography, it telegraphed the right tone, purpose, grit, and alignment with big causes. And in interviews, the Duke started speaking about proximity, how events lately have brought that closer, meaning the possibility of returning to Britain with Meghan and the children. The message is subtle: keep the cameras warm without burning the ground. The stakes are neither trivial nor purely sentimental. Project Thor, as described, does not aim to erase recent history, it aims to recast what comes next. The playbook hinges on 4 pressure points. First, visible rapprochement with the monarch. Photos displayed in public rooms of royal residences send signals, and the placement and omissions are never accidental. Second, a European cultural corridor: Paris, Milan, perhaps the charity circuits of London, where Meghan's brand fluency is an asset rather than a lightning rod. Third, charity stock, hospital wards, veterans rehabilitation, trafficking awareness, early years advocacy rooms where cameras recalibrate narratives. Fourth, controlled UK drop-ins that do not trigger the security impasse or ignite a tabloid wildfire. All of which explains the friction. When any Thor is engineered at Westminster-adjacent heights, courtiers, sympathetic politicians, trusted intermediaries, there's a parallel storyline that writes itself. What does this mean for the Waleses? Because no matter how gently the Sussexes are reintroduced, the optics inevitably juxtapose them against the Prince and Princess of Wales. Meghan doesn't need to share a frame with Catherine for headlines to tack one name to the other, it happens every time. And when that happens, you've got a live current running straight through Kensington's careful compact about privacy, rhythm, and routine. School runs over showmanship, a smaller R in royal, the family-first guardrails William has outlined repeatedly. For William and Catherine, the risk is not existential, but it is cumulative. They've spent years building a long-game approach that ingests attention rather than chasing it: fewer appearances, sharper causes, more depth, fewer theatrics. Their security is a function of predictability, their popularity is a function of trust. Project Thor, by contrast, is all about tempo. It uses heat, fashion heat, media heat, diplomatic heat, to melt ice. That heat never asks permission, it simply radiates. And the British press, particularly the tabloid end, will paint any Thor as a referendum on the Waleses whether they like it or not. Are they welcoming or wary, involved or aloof, overshadowed or serene? 1,000 shades of false choice, but potent nevertheless. Then there is the king. Charles's acceptance of limited, ceremonial, or symbolic reintegration, framed around shared causes and familial normalcy, may look, from Windsor's windows, like wise grandpaternal pragmatism. He has learned the hard way that grudges curdle and that the crown's longevity is better served by weatherproofing than warfare. But forgiveness in a crown must be audited by the calendar. Too soon and it reads as indulgence, too late and it reads as ice. The monarch's most controversial relative is Andrew, and he occupies a different moral plane entirely, the palace will be allergic to any conflation. In that context, photo choices at Hillsborough Castle, some faces in, some faces absent, operate as curatorial foreign policy. This is the family we show, this is the future we seed. So where does Project Thor go next? The Insider's version sketches a neat arc, a photogenic European chapter, a strategically timed UK visit before year's end, bearing humble pie, one friend quipped, and then a series of controlled rooms in Britain that tilt toward service and away from spectacle. That doesn't mean a balcony moment, it means the opposite: workrooms, listening sessions, and meticulously off-camera moments that are paradoxically on narrative. The goal isn't to rejoin the institution, it's to reconnect with the nation in ways that rebut the most damaging caricatures, entitled, embittered, unserious, without relitigating grievances. A public that can be generous will be asked to be. A press that can be punitive will be tempted not to be. Whether any of this undermines William and Kate depends on what you believe success looks like. If success equals lasting, low-drama focus on the Wales's agenda, Earthshot's proof of scale, early years research embedding into policy, Wales family life ring-fenced from constant spectacle, then any Sussex spotlight is noise to dampen, not music to harmonise with. If success equals a royal ecosystem that can carry multiple narratives without cannibalizing itself, think of how Queen Elizabeth's long reign accommodated abundant storylines, then the Thor is not a threat but a test. The question is whether the British press can metabolize parallel tracks without playing demolition derby. There is also a moral layer often ignored. If Project Thor exists, it must eventually reckon with contrition. Not performative, not provocative, plain. People who felt traduced by interviews, episodes, chapters, or leaks will not be soothed by clever staging. Meghan bearing humble pie may be a friendly jest from allies, but apologies are only useful if they are pointed rather than porous. Apologize for which things? To whom? In private or in public? And what new boundaries prevent the cycle from restarting? Likewise, critics who campaigned for permanent exile must decide whether they value catharsis or closure. A monarchy, to endure, must be large enough to hold remorse and return without devouring itself. On the security front, the practical knot remains. Harry's case failed, policy is policy. If the Sussexes set foot in Britain more often, the detail must be negotiated case by case without becoming a soapbox. The paradox is obvious: the safer and quieter their movements, the easier it is to argue the risk is contained, the louder the security debate grows, the likelier it is to boomerang. Project Thor only works if the technical is boring and the personal is compelling. Why Paris? Because it delivers three things at once: high-fashion oxygen for Meghan's public image, European proximity without the Westminster pressure cooker, and a visual counter-narrative to the stereotype of isolation. Markle, surrounded by industry titans and old friends, reads as integrated, aspirational, and this matters, welcomed by rooms that trade in clout. From there, if the next frames are William's favoured environments, school gates, Windsor walks, quietly focused engagements, and the Sussex frames are charity forward with the volume turned down, the monarchy may discover it can carry both tracks without blowing a fuse. The open question is appetite. Do the British people want the Sussexes back in any form beyond family-only milestones? A meaningful bloc will say no. Another bloc will say yes, if it's service-first and drama-free. A third group, the decisive middle, doesn't want to think about it at all. That middle rewards silence and substance and punishes noise. Project Thor, if it's real, will be judged by that middle. One wrong headline can refreeze months of careful warming. One right moment, an unscripted kindness, a disciplined quiet, can melt plenty. For William and Catherine, the smartest response is the one they have already routined: stay steady, keep standards high, and refuse to be drafted into somebody else's storyline. If outfits get toned down, if ceremonies get tighter, if early years and Earthshot keep producing measurable outcomes, then the Wales's brand remains future-proof, less pageant, more purpose. For Charles, the path is equally familiar: offer dignity without indulgence, proximity without confusion, mercy without amnesia. For Harry and Meghan, the task is the hardest: demonstrate that a Thor is a transformation, not a tactic, fewer monologues, more milestones. If the name Project Thor is a little on the nose, The goal behind it is not. Britain is pragmatic. It warms to hard work and good manners, it chills at self-pity and score-settling. Any reintroduction will stand or fall on those two ancient tests. Should the Sussexes return as better colleagues than critics, better listeners than lecturers, the public will notice. Should they return as a new storm system, the public will notice faster. If you've read this far, you know what the next weeks will look like: a drip of images, a murmur of itineraries, and a fresh round of editorials asking whether bridges can bear the weight that burned them. They can, but only if everyone walks lighter this time.